This evening on the Rock Newman Show,
Everybody, give me like 30 seconds and we can get busy. I just got to set up a few things. Um, Welcome to the Bronze Reaper Podcast. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Bronze Reaper Podcast. I'm your host, Rosalind Perkins. We got a great show today, and we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to watch this reaction video and another end. This will probably be like an hour and a half show, if that. But we're going to be watching the legendary Claud Anderson on the Rock Newman Show. This is an old video, but we're going to watch it, see, decode it, do the whole 9 yards. So sit back, relax, give me a few more seconds and we can start. All right, everybody, I'm ready. Welcome to the Bronze Reaper podcast. I'm your host, Roshan Perkins. We got a great show. And today we're going to be watching a reaction video on, what's his name? Rock Newman. I don't know as much about him, but definitely, this seemed like it was a great interview. So it was from like 7 years ago. So yeah, it's about powernomics, black labor, white wealth, and if you know, I got his book right here. So everybody sit back and relax and enjoy.
Black Economics Today. Dr. Claud Anderson discusses his new book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. He'll break down how recent political moves on taxes, judge appointments, and healthcare laws will impact the black community economically. That's coming up right now on The Rock Newman Show. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show from the campus of historic Howard University, located in the nation's capital. I'm Rock Newman, and it is my desire to inspire you with personal stories of extraordinary achievement. Dr. Claud Anderson's new book, A Black History Reader, is laid out in a question and answer format. It begins with this quote: "The social construct on race was deliberate and permanent. It is so fundamental to the issue of race that the topic cannot be considered in any serious way without understanding it. It is therefore the first question in this book." Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rock, for inviting me back.
This book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. I'll tell you what I did. I tore out the table of contents. In my estimation, this book is so extraordinarily comprehensive when it examines the issue of blacks in this country from the beginning of time of this country until now, that it's almost as if I've got to stay away from thinking any one thing is a panacea. But this book right here is, I'll be corny, is the bomb.com. So let me just start here. So the Black History Reader,
What's going on?
101 questions you thought you never asked. You never thought to ask. Provides answers and solutions to how and why black people have been consigned to the lowest level of America's ranking order of social and economic acceptability. Now, when I read that, I was like, well, boy, that's a very broad statement. That's a tall order. That's a high challenge there. Then I read the book, and it was like, it absolutely it provides answers and solutions. I want people to be aware of this book. I want folks to be aware. Now, it says today, America finds itself embroiled in issues of the Confederacy, slavery, immigration, and a myriad of issues based on race and racism. And it asks the question, why is race such an enduring problem? And your answer is?
For the simple fact that it's the third rail in American society. Nobody wants to touch it. Because if they touch it, all of a sudden that obligates white folk to do something in response to the fact that they have maltreated black folk throughout 500 years in this country. And they systematically maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's resources.
Long time no see.
That's all the land, wealth, power, resource, privileges, rights, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And they've been locked and boxed into that, and now they're presently a permanent.
Oh, yeah. Yo, I'm going to tell you something, YouTubian. When we were on the show last night, on the space with Tariq last night, I called in, but we were online. We were live, actually. So if you hear what we was if you hear what we were doing, I mean, if you watch the stream whenever you have time, at the end we jumped on live, and that's why I said, yeah, I'm live on my show right now. But I was talking to the audience about because V for Vengeance asked the question 3 days ago, what's the solution? What is the solution of getting reparations? We already know what the problem is. How do we solve the problem? Tariq Nasheed told us what the problem is. Oh, for real? I missed your stream. Yeah, we were live last night. We did decent numbers, so definitely. We had like almost 100 views, you know. Well, later on it'll be 100, but you know, yeah, we did good, man. You know, shout out to the tether hunters and stuff, man. That's all of y'all, man. Y'all tether hunters. So, but give me 1 second. I gotta do something because I always forget. And I know what's his name. Bobby's gonna kill me if I don't do it. So yeah. Give me a second. All right, there we go. And also like and subscribe and comment in the live chat if you can. If not, just thank you for watching the show and stuff. If you want to donate to the podcast or the channel, definitely. I put the Streamlab. What is it? It's the I forgot what it's called. Give me a second. The donation thing will pop up, so definitely when I think of it, I'll let y'all know. But yeah, definitely. This is going to be a great show. This is a reaction video, and this is who Tariq Nasheed. This is basically Tariq Nasheed's big brother, the one with a lot of information, a lot with, who writes books as well, who talks about, reclassification, money, wealth, everything. This is why I bought his book. He'll talk about all of that.
Underclass. And whites don't want you to bring that up because that way they have some obligation. And so what they'll do, they'll push back and say, we're not planning on sharing anything with black folk in this country. And that's the dilemma. Nobody wants to address the issues of what they do. They just try to use very broad, ambiguous terms to make black folk disappear and become unnecessary and irrelevant in this society.
I'm going to go past
Super
the
chat. That's
of
what it's
how
called.
is it
Super
that
chat,
blacks
everyone.
are always on the bottom. I'm going to go past that because in your answer there, you to a certain extent, you just answered that question.
That's right. See, that 98, 99, and 1.5% of everything of value in the country was maldistributed into everybody's hand except black folk. Black folk have been locked into only 1/2 or 1% of anything of value of this country now for over 460 years. It is impossible, Rock, in comparative and theoretical terms, for blacks to be a competitive people. Can't be done. You can't make it off of 1/2 or 1% in a nation that is a competitive society where people are competing. They can't compete. What are they going to compete with?
You ask the probing question. How is it that the black civil rights era produced more gains for other class groups than the intended beneficiary, blacks?
This is where the delineation information comes in at. How can the civil rights help everybody else except black America? Black America stopped being on the forefront of everything because at the end of the day, it didn't benefit them. Whenever nothing ever benefit anybody, people don't jump in to help. It has always been like that. So now we're just doing what we were taught, what we were told. what we know, and that's to not help. Let everybody handle their own nuts. It's not racist. It's not prejudice. It's not xenophobic. It's just like, yo, my nigga, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. We can't keep on helping you, but when situation happen, you don't want to help us. One hand is supposed to wash the other, but the left hand wasn't helping with the right hand. So now everybody got to do it on self.
For a very simple reason, and that is through inherited wealth. I just told you a few minutes ago that 99% of everything was maldistributed into the hands of the dominant white society, but now 87% of it is frozen, locked in there. It's locked into the dominant white society, into their trust accounts, banks, institutions, universities, communities, and their culture. The black folk cannot get access to it. That's why the present administration, like with Trump, one of the first things they're going to focus on is inherited laws, change the tax structure, so they can pass on all these rights and benefits into their offsprings. And black folk, on the other hand, are going to be confronted by white kids, for instance, a white child gets 87% of what he needs to be a competitive individual in our society at birth. As soon as he hits the air in the hospital, he gets 87% because everything he needs is in the white society. He can get access to it anytime he wants it. But the black child, on the other hand, he can't compete because when he's born in that same hospital, there's nothing inheritable that he can gain. So because everything that the blacks have been focusing on for the last 100 years is non-inheritable. Food stamps, welfare, public housing, and a job, you cannot inherit them. So the black child is non-competitive. He can't compete with a white child. So in the morning, even if he wants a job, he got to dress up and go to a white neighborhood or somebody else's neighborhood, try to look for a job. It's impossible. He can't compete. That's why he's a permanent underclass.
You say permanent underclass, which begs the question, will the issue is there any hope that the issue of race will ever be resolved in this country?
I think there's a very, very slight chance that it can be resolved. But it's going to be up to black folks to do it, though. See, because they're going to be pushed back from the dominant society because they got a social construct that excludes black folk. And so so later on you can ask me about it. The key is going to be how black folk classify themselves. See, first of all, black folk got to classify themselves as native blacks to make sure there's a distinct difference between a black coming from Africa and a black coming from the Caribbean. Native blacks. That means people that were born and raised in this country 400 or 500 years ago, that are peculiar to this. That's it. And if you focus on that, then say, now, what is special about those native blacks? Then you have to say they are exceptional people. Black people in America are exceptional. They are special people. Now, we have politicians running around the country every day talking about America is an exceptional nation.
What's going on, Randall?
And because America is an exceptional nation based on the fact that they have a democracy, so it'll be the cradle of democracy, and that they have most liberal immigration policies, and that people can vote and do all these kind of things. So they said, therefore, the American political entity is supposed to be an exception, and therefore they should be given special favors among all the nations of the world. What I say is that if that's true, then black people in America are exceptional people. They're an exception within an exception, because nobody's been treated like black folk.
He's right. This man's right. We're going to have to start looking at... We can't look at people who have money anymore. And the reason why I said we can't look at people who has money anymore, they are not the upper echelons. We look at people with color. We look at people who has color and style and rhythm. Like... Black people, we have class, we have innovation, we have influence, like I said, inspiration. We have everything. If we didn't do it, the whole world wouldn't do it. If we didn't make this sound, the whole world wouldn't do the sound. It has always been like that. Most people with money don't have souls. Facts. Most people who have money has a therapist. It's true. It's never been about money. It always has. Let me tell you something. If America can't talk about race, and what happened in the past, how can we talk about future? If we didn't settle our situations through in the past, and we just let it linger on, it's gonna affect the future. Let me tell you something. Do you think this is a coincidence? What's happening? What happening now? What's happening now? I'm sorry. This is no coincidence. This was supposed to happen. This was gonna happen. But this ain't even the tipping of the iceberg yet. We didn't even hit anything yet. We just hit a little bit of ice, a speck of ice. It's gonna get even more crazier, and the reason why, because there's no black influence. Let me tell you something. White supremacy has tried to place black America. We have seen it with Essence. Essence failed. They're doing it with the stream now. They're failing. Like there's a reason why in 2025 people are wilding out, people are bugging out, people are not, there's a reason why it feels like it's the Dark Ages. The reason why I'm going to use Dark Ages is because back in the days when they say the Dark Ages, that's when melanated people were winning. Like, we can even talk about the Great Depression. Great Depression was considered a dark age. Because black people wasn't suffering in the Great Depression. Black people did have money. Black people have their mom and pop stores, had their own businesses. I'm a mod on someone else's channel. I suggest we talk about why every culture hates black American. He won't discuss it. Well, that means, you know what that means, Randall? He's trying to hide something. There's a reason why he don't want to talk about that. One thing I'm starting to do this long enough to figure out that like certain people won't talk about certain things in this for a reason. It's like conversations that I have with certain people. I'll ask a question, they won't answer the question. They'll probably answer the question probably like 2 hours later, or ask the same question that I asked them 4 hours ago. There's a reason why these people do this. He loves, yeah, of course, and the thing is, I'm gonna tell you something about foreigners. I dated enough foreign people to know that. People use whiteness as a class. I have seen it in the 90s where people will just date white women because they think people will treat them better. Not knowing that sometimes some people will just will look at you worse. Like in China, they do that. They say they don't want nobody to go out with nobody black, but they rather them go out with white people. Caribbeans do it all the time. Africans do it all the time. So it's nothing new. I just think he loves white people. No, he does. This is a black American channel I'm talking about. Yeah, I know. That's just how people are, man. People run from certain questions. Like if I don't know, I'll tell you. I don't know. I might have to research that. I might have to do my due diligence to answer your question.
You keep talking about this is a land of immigrants. And see, but black folk are only non-immigrants. You can't keep bringing immigrants into the country over black folk and giving them special benefits in that terms. That's why blacks can't compete. And can I take about a minute to get these points out for you?
Yeah.
See, there are 4 or 5 things. They're right now debating the DACA immigration law.
Sure.
That's going to be the death knell of black folk. That's going to be the nail in the coffin for black folk. Because
He
this
warned
nation
us,
set up its
too.
first immigration laws in 1790. It says this is an immigrant nation, and any people of the world that can pass for or look like whites can come here and get special benefits, Rock. They can come here and get it, but the only people that can't get it are black folk. And then everybody was invited to come here. And they maldistribute all the resources. And they started out by putting most of the resources starting with the land, which blacks couldn't get. But let me go back to his.
Let me. Can I stop you just for 1 second?
Sure,
Because I want you to take that further.
Okay.
So, most progressives, to use that term, when they look at when they look at the policies of this particular administration that's in power right now, Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the Congress, and you talk about DACA, the sense is that most progressives, most black folks, want to do, quote unquote, the humane thing, and make sure that those that are born here have rights and are not exported, and their parents aren't put out of the country. So, are you on the other side of that argument?
No. What I'm saying is that to do that, it is unjustifiable. And it's illegal and unconstitutional, and it's the worst form of injustice that you commit against black folk, because what you're violating is black folks' rights. But see, you cannot, see, the 13th Amendment, let's go back for a second. The 13th Amendment came into existence after the Civil War. Yeah. It says very clearly, Rod, that it mandates that black folk be treated in all manners similar to whites in this nation. Now, but immigration's policies and bringing in immigrants only negatively impact black folk. It's not impacting anybody else. Black folk are the only injured parties by immigration. Then you go.
This is where the civil rights fucked up at. This is why I'm so hard on civil rights movements. It's because, you know what? They were telling us to support immigrants. They were telling us to support all these people coming from these other countries, even though it affected everything that we done. We were going to get the short end of the stick, or shit on the stick, as they always say. Like, I don't mind some of them coming in, but y'all sent them over by the masses because they were going to affect black America. We knew that. The only people who was really fucking with that was Martin Luther King. But people have to understand, too, Martin Luther King, once he started to figure out what was going on, and he should have been knew, the motherfucker he had his master's, and he was a doctor. He should have been said, no, this shit is wrong. This shit's foul. We can't do this. It's gonna fuck my people up.
Go to the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says that black, and remember the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, those things were written for black folk. That black folk must have due process and equal protection under the law. If black folk are the only people being negatively impacted by immigrants, you're violating the 14th Amendment. There should be all kind of lawsuits right now raised by black folk. And then the Civil Rights Law of 18.
Now you hear this. I'm sorry to stop this. This part I liked because he said the 14th, 15th, and I think he said the 16th Amendment was for black Americans. Why in 2025 now we are just saying that? The things that people hate about this president, this guy is saying 7 years ago. That 14th Amendment wasn't for everybody. It has never been for everybody. This was basically to make us the sacrificial lamb. This was going to make us the sacrificial lamb, and we knew this. Well, no, some of us didn't know this. But it got worse.
1865 and 1866 said very specifically, Rock, that every level of government is mandated to use all necessary means to lift the badges and incidents of slavery off the shoulders of black folk. Now here you are bringing in all these immigrants over black folk. And here's what you do when you bring them all into black folk. Because you do the same thing they were doing in 1790 when they brought in all these immigrants. You bring in million immigrants over black folk from Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Northern Europe. You brought them in over black folk. When you bring in immigrants, here's what happened. You got black folk that are branded. They don't get any benefits for living in this country because they're branded as being slaves. They get zero benefits. Now, they're not immigrants. Now, watch what on the other side. Now, when immigrants come in, watch the benefits they get. They go past black folk at 200 miles an hour to pass them. That's why in all these cities, in Chocolate City, they do better right here in Chocolate City. Now they're underneath the immigrants. Immigrants, they come in the country, they get a point over black folk for being an immigrant. Blacks are the only non-immigrant. 2, They classified, all of them are classified as whites. The Arabs, Asian, Hispanics, they all been reclassified.
This was what I was explaining to SP yesterday. I was telling SP, I was like, there's a lot of immigrants that classify as white. They classify as themselves as white. This is how they get the benefits. This is how, like he said, this is how they get a few points over black Americans. Like, people might think this shit is fake, but the shit is true.
Whites, even American Indians, back in the 1890s became classified as whites. They get a point. That's the second point. They get over black folk in getting access to resources and benefits. The third thing they get the benefits for being put into a minority category. They're classified as minorities over black folk. Thirdly, they come in with a culture that they can establish a culture that they can now build businesses and industries and relate back to their homeland. And lastly, what they can do, they also bring in a religious aspect and business opportunities for their people. Black folk get nothing, and they can come in and dominate black folk. That's why right now black folk have been buried as an underclass. That's why in this Black History Reader, you look at the second question, it'll show you that the last statistics that came out from the United States Department of Labor says that everybody's over black folk. Black folk have not moved one iota in 150 years.
This is why there was a birth of a Tariq Nasheed. There was a birth of Afro Elite. A birth of even Mike TV. What's up with these FBAs in Detroit? Yeah, man, yo, they be getting busy, man. They be getting busy. They got. I feel like this. Sooner or later, Detroit's gonna be a strong black state again. I personally do believe that. I think they're gonna get their shit corrected, and they're gonna control that state, just like Chicago. Let me tell you something. The Midwest is gonna be a black state again. What's up, Bronze? You find shit? No, I didn't get time, but I still got the notes. Don't worry, I still got it. I'm gonna look that man up, definitely. I just jumped right on. I worked out. Then after that, I jumped on this show. Then I'm gonna start lifting. Then after that, I'm gonna do some research with Sabir Bey. You know, so yeah, definitely. I'm gonna find a video. At least we can do a reaction to him.
They're still on the bottom, underneath the society and outside of it.
You said something earlier in an answer where you said that you talk about native blacks. And so that clearly sounds as if you are delineating native blacks versus someone that comes here from Bermuda or Jamaica or wherever they may come from.
You hear this? This was 7 years ago. People thought, let me tell y'all something. People think FBA started in 2019. Claud Anderson been talking about this shit for years. It goes live every day. Definitely, I'm gonna subscribe to him. Same day parlay. Definitely. Thank you for the information. Ohio is too racist to become a black state, in my opinion. Yes and no. Rando. I'm gonna say yes and no, and the reason why I say yes and no, I'm not a Moor, but I fuck with it. That's good, man. You could blend in with a lot of content. That's a good thing. Rando, it's a yes and no for me. The reason why I say a yes and no for me, it's not about being a majority if you're a minority. It's about what you do as a minority. Like, if you look at America, black Americans are the minority. They just got to figure out a game plan and who their friends and foe is. Once they find out who their friends and foe is, then they can get busy. So anything is possible, I will say, Rando. I wouldn't say it's... I don't think it's like California. California, yeah, black people are just moving out. It's not even like worth... Black people are looking at it like this. It's not even worth fighting. I could go to another state where there is black people. and don't, or the less of different cultures, and live a peaceful life. That's why a lot of black Americans is moving out of California.
That is black.
That's right.
And the purpose of that is what? Because on the surface, it would be like, hey, everybody here that's black gets treated a certain way. Why are you making that delineation?
They can fix that.
That is an excellent point.
They just need to find somebody they trust. That's who the chief can be, the person that they can trust to lead them. So yeah, Ohio is going through what Chicago's going through with their gangs. There's no leaders. Their leaders is like 25, 30 years old. That's who they consider OGs in Chicago, basically. Don't forget, all their OGs is doped up or locked up or something. Or you're just doing some other shit. Or reformed.
You know why? Because you see, those people coming in from Jamaica or coming in from Africa, they have not been treated like black folk in this country. That's the first thing. And secondly, historically, they haven't had those historical experiences. They come in here voluntarily. When they come in here, they bring some cultural aspects from Africa. They can go back anytime they want. But the black people in this country are exceptional people. Nobody's been mistreated, maltreated like them. Black folk are exceptional. They're the only people that came here forcefully, one. Two, they're the only people that denied their humanity. Three, they were the only people denied a right to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Four, they were the only people denied the right to participate in government. Five, they were the only people denied the right to vote. Six, they were the only people denied the right to have an education. Seven, they were the only people denied the right to have a business. Eight, they were the only people that participated in every war that this country has had since its founding, but whose mother country has never been against this country. All those immigrants come from countries where they fought America, and they came in. And the seven, that they are the oldest and most patriotic people in the country. Not the Confederates in the South. They're not the most patriotic people waving the Confederate flag. The most patriotic people in this country are black people.
This is why I said what I said yesterday. I said black Americans are the most American people ever. We are the most American people ever. I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. I said the reason why black Americans are the most American people in America is because we don't have lineage from other countries. We don't have culture from other countries. If you look at white people, they got culture from Germany, Ireland, Scotland, Dutch, God knows where. France, Poland. Asians, the same thing. Latinos, the same thing. They bring their culture here. Black American doesn't bring culture. This is why I say Americans are the most American people. We're the purest Americans. Same in Ohio. Cats my age, 51s, or drugged out. Generations before me was drugged out also. People my age was not respected because of the drugs. Yeah, drugs fucked up a lot of shit. I always tell people all the time, even when you do sell drugs, you can still be an addict. You might be addicted to selling drugs,
Native blacks, because you see 99% of all those black, not the Confederates in the South, they're not the most patriotic people waving the Confederate flag.
And people hate them,
but the most patriotic people in this country are black people, native blacks, because you see 99% of all those blacks have been direct descendants of slaves. They've been here before 99% of all the other people ever arrived in this country. They're special people. And because they're special people, they need to be recognized, appreciated, and reparated for what they've done in this country and building this country. They're the ones that built the bridges, the roads, cut the timber, the trees, and cleared the land, raised the tobacco, cotton, indigo. They're the people that's fought to raise in every war to protect this country. The people coming from Africa or coming from Jamaica didn't. They came here voluntarily. And the most important point on this is if you lump them with black folk, then you give.
Salute V for vengeance. How's everything? I went to school with cats in junior high. So dope to get by. Yeah, it's always like that, man. Everybody's situation is different. You're right, Randall. I'm 50 and smoking herb right now. Yeah, be like that, man. What's going on? I'm doing good, V for Vengeance. I'm actually doing a reaction video. Claud Anderson. This is actually a good one. This is more educational. Yesterday, and I want to hear your opinion. Do you agree with me when I say this? Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, ADOS, the freedmen, are the most purest Americans ever. Out of anybody, we're the purest Americans.
The dominant white society a justification to say we don't owe black folk anything, because you see the blackness that's native, the blackness, black people's blackness is more than just color. It is their heritage, it's their history, it's their code of conduct, and more importantly, it is their badge of honor, and it's what it symbolizes the indebtedness that this country has to them.
And also, I'm gonna say this same day parlay, cause you smoke weed. I don't think you're. I don't think it's bad. Facts. It's several ways. I agree. I'm gonna give you my reason to V for Vengeance. I said the reason why that Black Americans, foundational Black American ADOS, freedmen are the purest Americans is because we don't have other cultures. We don't bring in cultures from other people, from the country that we are supposed to be from. White people bring European culture. Latinos bring Latin culture. Jamaicans and Caribbeans, they bring their Caribbean culture. Africans bring African culture. We only know American culture. We only know American culture. We only abide by American culture. We're the only ones that actually really respects the Constitution and the amendments. Like, we're the only ones that actually really respect that shit. Like, if you really think of it.
This country does not have an indebtedness to people coming from Africa. They only have an indebtedness to people coming in from the Bahamas. If you lump black folk in there, you deprive black folk of the benefit, the debt that's owed them. Don't do that.
Whew, you are spitting fire. Let's keep going here, and I want to deal with some of the historical aspects of all of what you're talking about.
Okay.
But something that is what is 50-year history, for example.
Facts.
Is
Facts
Martin
V
Luther
for
King's,
Vengeance.
colorblind dream. Did his and the civil rights movements focus on integration and having the ability to sit at the counter with the dominant society and open up a lot of doors where there was obviously very clear legalized discrimination, to knock down those barriers? Did that take the focus off of blacks' rights?
No. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And let me go back before you get to the back of what Martin Luther picked up. And
it's crazy. I'm gonna say this, Rando. I think Ohio can figure it out. They can figure it out. It's gonna be very, very hard. I have no ideas about that. I will have to actually figure out what's going on in Ohio. Like, from ins to out, internal to external. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Because Ohio is different. The Midwest, I would say, y'all consider Midwest, right? Y'all could, yeah. If y'all consider Midwest, yeah, y'all can figure it out. Because Midwest has a very unique culture. So I'm gonna say this. I like Midwest. I actually met a few people. But this was off of my adult channel. My adult channel. Midwest has a lot of orgies. I will be personally honest. They have a lot of swinger and sex parties in the Midwest. I don't think a lot of people know that, but I know that. So yeah, Midwest is known for that. Refrigerators, we gotta chop it up, bro. I can literally show you examples of how immigration hurts us, and this was planned. Yep, 30 years ago. Yeah, I think longer than that. I believe. I think this started with the civil rights, and they fucked us over. I really personally think it was longer than 30 years. I think they added on more for 30 years, yes, but I think they were planning this before. Yeah, I think they were planning this before. Kenton took all the stuff to do around the projects here. They trying to keep the jails and full. Yeah, they always doing that, man. They're trying to do that in Massachusetts, because they can't protect Boston. That's the thing. All this cop stuff that they have in Boston, all the integration, it still can't protect these people who live in Boston. I'm talking about all these college kids and the white supremacists. Because there's a lot of white supremacists in Boston right now that lives in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan. They think that they're going to be safe because they live around there. No, they'll burn your fucking house down. So it's just like that.
See, and again, Martin Luther King and the civil rights leader, they did the best they could at that particular time. What they thought was right, but they didn't look far enough down the road.
Right. And
they got bamboozled and tricked. Because you see, the initial decision
said that too.
And the suit that was filed for what you all might call social integration, the civil rights movement, was filed in McClinton, South Carolina. And what those black folk filed for,
this is why I say I think it was
desegregation. And what desegregation means, we don't have what Anderson talks about. We don't control those resources. We don't have any resources. And so what was happening in McClinton, South Carolina back in 1948 when that lawsuit was filed, those black kids were walking to school up dirt road in the rain and snow trying to get to school. They when they got to school, they didn't have the same privileges in those schools like in North Carolina. I was from South Carolina, North Carolina, where we spent the first week of school every year cleaning up old textbooks, old materials, and used stuff that was coming from the white schools. Yeah. Whites got all the new materials. They got all the fabrics and the tools, the machinery, technology. We got to use broken down. They had to fix it up. Spend the first week of school with big erasers, cleaning up the books and putting tape on them. The white kids had swimming pools in their schools. We didn't have swimming pools. We used to have to go down and dam up the creek to swim. And so then plus that, more importantly, the white kids rode the buses. We walked. And the worst part was it that the state was giving something like about $12 for every white child to go to school, but only $1.50 for a black child to go to school. Mm-hmm. What the McClinton, South Carolina people were saying is that we won't have equal control of the resources that you began to maldistribute in the 1790s to everybody but us. We won't have our fair share of it. Mm-hmm. And so they went to the courts, and it wound up going to the Supreme Court by 1954. At that point, what black folk wanted was to have equal.
I'm gonna say this, Randall. That's a chain reaction of the bullshit that people were going on. When people start to do stuff like this, people got to step back and say this. What went wrong? What did we do wrong for them to start shooting? Because motherfuckers just don't shoot cops for no reason. For example, I think that's the dude who ran over the police officer because somebody shot his kid. So this shit is happening for a reason. People are dumbing out, talk about, fine, I'll go to jail. I'm gonna go to jail for a reason. You seen in Cincinnati when the white people tried to go do that. Yeah, the neo-Nazis, and they got packed the fuck out. Yeah. That's why I'm saying, Ohio, yo, trust me, I'm gonna say this, Randall, within the next 8 months to a year, you're gonna see a little difference. You're gonna actually start to see a lot of people come together. Mark my words, the next 8 months to a year, you're gonna see a lot of people come together. This is why I said this is just the tip in that we're just seeing right now of black excellence. And this is why I told people all the time, and I told SP, I was like, yo, I said, yo, SP, this shit would have never happened with this deportation stuff if all of y'all would have came together with us and had a real coalition, not think about self. I said this yesterday, and we wouldn't be talking about, deportation. We wouldn't be talking about reparations. Because black people got to understand and stop making it seem like black people are like, they're like on some fuck you nigga shit. We always been on that. No, we always been forgiving people. We always been loving people. We are spiritual human beings. Personally, I think we're too spiritual. But that's in our DNA. That's why, you know what? Sometimes we don't need to do anything. Things will just happen to people. You know?
Equal treatment. Blacks had miraculously acquired a lot of communities. Mm-hmm. They had bars, professional football teams, baseball teams. Mm-hmm. We had a lot. We had our own business.
Land. Lots of land.
We had some land there. Yeah. And by 1920, black folk had acquired about 20 million acres of land in this country that they had to buy. White folks didn't buy their land. They got it free on land grants. And so when Martin Luther came along, what he says is that now, but what NAACP triggered it by simply saying, the best thing we can do for blacks in this country is to eradicate anything that reflects blackness. Let's move now to, let's sanitize everything. Let's get rid of all aspects of blackness. That means so they changed it to social integration. Social integration is a weakening process. But if I started putting cream in a coffee, I'm not making the coffee any stronger, I'm weakening it. If I put water in gasoline, I'm weakening it. So when Martin Luther came in, he picked it up and he started saying, what we want is to show white folk that we are acceptable, that we can be, and to take the focus off our blackness. And when that started, and they were successful, then the black leadership gave up to say, hey, we can't do it anymore, so we'll just go with what we call benign neglect and political correctness, which make black folk disappear. And that way nobody has to focus on the black issues anymore. And when Martin Luther took the focus off of black folk and put it on socially disadvantaged, then it was twisted over and merged into and morphed into what you call political correctness for everybody. And so therefore they corrupted and distorted the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, those civil rights laws. Those laws were written specifically and solely for black people. And that all these immigrants have no rights. There's no justification for it.
Okay, so we certainly have the luxury of hindsight now and doing not Monday morning quarterback, but 50 years later quarterbacking, So what should have been the focus to achieve a status for black folks that would have prevented 50 years later there being a permanent underclass?
Oh, Rock, you just asked, you always ask some beautiful questions. That's right on target. That what they should have done at the Civil Rights Movement, say first, before we do anything, before we start talking about social integration, let's go back and identify what was the primary purpose of slavery. What was the primary purpose? Yeah. The primary purpose of slavery was to classify blacks, strip them of their humanity, and to make them, classify them as 3/5 of a human being, and classify them as property. Yeah. And so, and therefore, and starting with property, that anybody can own them, they'd be no different from any other property. And that's why George Washington says that starting this new nation, their wealth will be embedded, starting first with land. And so George Washington said in that case, owning property. George Washington says, so give me 100,000 acres of free land. Thomas Jefferson said, if you give him 100,000 acres of free land, give me 100,000 acres of free land. Patrick Henry says, I want 65,000 acres of free land. Every white immigrant coming to the country could pick up 650 acres of free land, and then they get another 150 acres for every slave he owned. And so, and then the bottom line, the railroads picked up something like about 24 million acres of free land across the nation. Everybody got free land except black folk. And if you just stop there, the basis
for building foundational wealth
is in land. And see, and blacks couldn't even get 40 acres of land.
Yeah.
Blacks couldn't get free land because land was property and blacks were classified as property.
Yeah.
So they passed things like fugitive slave laws saying you are property. You're no different from the land. And they set up a thing called the American Dream that you hear all these politicians. The American Dream was anybody coming from any place around the world, from in the Middle East, from Asia, Africa, could come into America and they can get what's called the American Dream. They're still doing it right now. That's what the DACA is. They're coming to this country looking for, and the DACA, the American Dream is unearned benefits. Slavery was unearned benefits. So they come to this country right now getting unearned benefits, but black folk can't get them. And that's how they go right past black folk. And it's illegal, unconstitutional, but nobody's raised that issue. In all these discussions about immigration, nobody says that black folk are being negatively impacted. They got all these programs for immigrants.
Yeah.
When they go around and say, we're going to give immigrants Social Security, welfare, public housing, all stuff, but you're not going to give it to black folk.
Yeah. So I don't think we fully completed as your idea of what the civil rights, what should have been happening in the civil rights movement.
Let me go back to that. So what the first thing they should have done was say, what we first want to do is go back and correct the purpose and address the purpose of slavery. What was the purpose of slavery? The purpose of slavery was to handicap a specific a group of people and handicap them and hold them while we provide benefits to everybody else. So what they first thing should have done is say, if this nation is maldistributed 100% of all the land, resource, businesses, income, privileges, rights, and controls of government into the white society, that's the first thing we must address. We must go back and look at that and address it. And they never did that. Even when they came out of slavery, that there was no wealth. Blacks had no wealth. The average white person coming out at the beginning of end of slavery had 3,500 times more wealth than blacks.
Yeah.
Black folk had never owned and controlled anything greater than 1/2 of 1%. That means that in present terms, Rock, even today, that hasn't changed since slavery, that right now in this country, we got something like about 500 to 600 white billionaires. We got over 500 to 600 white billionaires in this country. And I can take, and 2 or 3 of them has more wealth than all 44 million black folk put together. Black folk can't compete, they don't own and control any wealth. Everything from Boston to San Diego, California, all the land, resources, business, trucks, airlines, anything you name, it belongs to whites. Blacks own and control 0. That's why right now, 38% of the black folk in America are beneath the poverty line. You got about another third sitting right on the poverty line if they lose their house or their car. And they can't compete. As a matter of fact, if black folk own such a small amount of wealth in this country, and if whites were to stop end racism tomorrow, and it would take black folk another 238 years to catch up with where white folk are today in terms of wealth ownership. 2 white men right now own more wealth than all 44 million black folk. How can you compete in a society where you own and control nothing? And the only thing they're giving you is things that are non-inheritable, and it's like a real life monopoly game. If you don't own and control the land going around the board, you can't own the water company or the railroads. You own nothing. You're going to either go bankrupt or you're going to jail.
You know, you've mentioned different times here, and you even talking about, going into the schools. What you did for the first week or whatever it was to clean up the old books that you got from, that were hand-me-downs. And right. I went to a segregated elementary school, and yeah, absolutely. And I remember that we had the books that had come down from the school just up the street from where we were.
See, that's not right, Doc. Rock.
So, it felt as if there was a foundation at this all-black elementary school that was trying to lift us up with education. So the question is, has education been a equalizer for blacks?
No. It's been an equalizer for everybody but black folk. And they made
got from
differently folk are today in terms of wealth ownership. 2 white men right now own more wealth than all 44 million black folk. How can you compete in a society where you own and control nothing? And the only thing they're giving you is things that are non-inheritable, and it's like a real life monopoly game. If you don't own and control the land going around the board, you can't own the water company or the railroads. You own nothing. You're going to either go bankrupt or you're going to jail.
So this is answering a lot of questions. I'm gonna say this. This isn't about like, can we make money? What can we do? This, and that. It's always been about what can we own? What can we own? The game is don't give us something that we can own. Because anytime we get a little bit of something, we turn it into something great. We have been doing that shit for years.
You've mentioned.
You know, so this is why people always talk crazy about us. This is why people really dislike us. They can't do that. These people need handouts. These people can't even pay us what they owe us. They use every fucking excuse in the book, from Democrat to Republican. This is why I always tell people all the time, don't be loyal to none of them niggas. Don't be loyal to none of them niggas. And the reason why, you don't know when they're going to turn on us. We're settling with the highest bidder. What are you doing for us? If you ain't doing anything for us, oh, best luck to you.
In different times here, when you even talking about, going into the schools, what you did for the first week or whatever it was to clean up the old books that you got from, that were hand-me-downs. And right. I went to a segregated elementary school, and
you did?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that we had the books that had come down from the school just up the street from where we were.
See, that's not right, Doc Rock.
So, it felt as if there was a foundation at this all-black elementary school that was trying to lift us up with education. So the question is, has education been a equalizer for blacks?
No. It's been an equalizer for everybody but black folk. And the amazing part about that is that black folk right now hold the greatest academic achievement on the earth. See, all during slavery for 360 years, and I never hear anybody talk about this on the Fox channels or these white redneck conservatives say this. But the problem is that in this country, they talk about how ignorant black folk are. They never say that, yes, if black folk are ignorant, it was imposed ignorance that was imposed on them. For 360 years, it was against the law, Rock, to be caught teaching a black person to read and write. Yeah. It'll cost you 39 lashes and $100 to teach a black person to read and write. And that was all the way up to the 1860s. So in 1860, when blacks came out of slavery, you got to understand 96% of black folk in America could not read and write. But guess what? The immigrants coming into the country, the white people class, the white immigrants coming to the country, they had a 96% ignorant rate too, illiteracy rate. And so, but between 1865 and 1895, black folk reduced their illiteracy rate from almost 196% all the way down to 40-something%. And they did it by themselves, basically. They hold a record of achievement. Nobody in the history of the world has ever come out of slavery and be able to reduce their illiteracy rate by in half in 30-year time period. But what happened, the reason that it didn't benefit black folk, that by 1950, as an example, black folk never got the benefits of getting an education. There were no benefits to track their educational achievement. That's why white teachers were making 2 to 3 times more than a black teacher in the 1950s. In the 1950s, a black teacher with a college education, a law and teaching degree, he could only earn 50% of half of what a white high school dropout was earning. Because the benefits for education never followed black folk. That's why right now.
That's what we're doing. That's why V for Venture, that's why I said we shouldn't have no loyalty to no party. The questions that we should be asking is, what are you doing for the black community? What are you doing for foundational black Americans? If they start talking that, and this is just one. There's other strategies, but this is the first strategy. What are you doing for black Americans? What type of policies are you doing? If they start talking about the people of color and minorities, when they start using these type of words, then after that say, yo, best of luck to you. but we need to vote as a collective. I don't know how we're gonna do that right now. Right now, I'm gonna say this: we're on a good roll right now, and the reason why I say we're on a good roll because we're being noticed and we're showing them that we have power. They've been telling us for years that we don't have power. Now we're showing them that we have power. So now you got to understand that. Now you got to understand when this next election's coming up, we know the questions was to ask. The Democrats know to fall in place. The Republicans aren't safe either. As I said before in a topic question is, if these Republicans give reparations, I don't think the Democrats can recover from that shit. I don't think they will have a chance to recover from that. I'm just being personally honest. I don't think they'll have a chance to recover from that. And the thing about it, the first person to give black people policies, they're not recovering from that. They're not going to recover from those few things. It's policies and reparations. Once one of these people give that stuff, it's gonna be asked for more. We can do that by registering to vote as independents or switch to a party independents if you're already registered. I might add on to what you're saying. I don't think we need to add on to a Democrat. We need somebody who is in the office that can fight for us. Talk to these people who can fight for black Americans, who's 10 toes down for black Americans. Just like people got in California. Latino got their own community. Latino got their own politicians fighting for them. That's what we need right now. If we get that, sky's the limits. We'll start taking these people out of office. Because don't forget, and this is why I said we are very influential. This is why I always throw in this is what I said in the morning. We are very influential and we are very inspirational. If we start doing that, how many people you think is going to start doing that? How many people you think is going to fall in line, bro? That's short-sighted. Yeah, but that's a start. That's why I said we take over media, then we can take over politics. Because don't forget, let me tell you something. What Elon Musk did when he took over Twitter, Claud Anderson been talking about that shit for probably 60 years. Claud Anderson been talking about that shit for 60 years. He was the first one to tell people take over the radio stations, take over media and all that other stuff back in the days. He said, then after that, we could get into the politics and talk about money and stuff like that. Then after that, we take over businesses. He been saying that. Independents isn't Democrats. Yeah, but I don't think we should have any loyalty to any of them. And the thing is, because when you're in politics, I don't think you should have any type of emotion. We have e-media, we have the media, we know now where to find and reach others. Yes, facts. That's right. V for Vengeance. We have the resources for that now. Now, I think this is the time where, within this year or next year, or even, I give ourselves 2 years. Sooner or later, we're going to take over politics. All these people who are cosplaying us and stuff like that, they're going to be out. They're not going to be worth anything. We're going to have to force their hands to do business with us the correct way. That's the purpose of going independent. It's not a party. Oh, okay. So yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, we might have to go independent, It's just, yeah. I can see that. I can see what you're saying now. Yeah, you're right.
I got all these black folk going to school, Howard University, and all the rest of the universities, coming out with master's degrees, but they don't master anything. They got a master's degree, but master nothing. And I see half of them working at McDonald's and Burger King and windows with college degrees because they don't have a community, they have no wealth base, they have no businesses, so they're still dependent on other people to use their education. And to use their education, the white society puts the value of that education. You can have a doctor's degree, but I'm gonna pay you what I want to pay you because you have no place else to use it. And consequently, the benefits of getting an education has never tracked black folk like it tracks everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And I have a rather explosive question to ask you. You touch on it, but I want to ask you this way. As we think about it, I do not know of a population of people that have been so taught to hate who they are and from whence they came as African American, as black, as blacks. I'm going to use your term.
Okay.
Native blacks.
Right.
So there is hatred and distrust within the community. There is hatred of blacks. Just as an observer, more so than any other population of people by large societies of people around the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, and this is just how I feel. I don't think black people hate black people. I don't know why people say that. I think it's just me. I don't see that black people hate black people. I see niggas doing nigga shit, yes. You know, I see us having our own culture, yeah, you know, us doing certain stuff. Yeah, do we have our coons? Absolutely. But I don't see black people hating black people. I think like, yeah, black people kill black people because they're all in the area together. Let me give you an example. Animal Kingdom. Animals are very peaceful when there's a whole bunch of resources. Animals can work with each other. They can live amongst each other, be happy. But once those resources get short, they get aggressive. This is the way of the animal kingdom. People get aggressive. People start attacking each other. Well, animals start attacking each other. They get aggressive. Even white people do the same thing. When resources get low, you don't hear about them hillbillies shooting each other and stuff over some meth and some mayonnaise sandwiches and shit. Yes, this shit happens. It's over resources. Little Billy Bob shot little Janie because, you know, she smoked the last of the meth. So he strangled the shit out of her and killed her. You know, the shit happens. You know, I don't like people pushing that narrative, and that's just me. I think it's a cop-out for people to use that.
Now, there are a lot of reasons, that hatred is generated in part because of how the culture is exported, how blacks are seen through in so many negative ways through culture. So we observe all of that, but I'm asking you, the PhD, is for you to weigh in on why there is such hatred towards black people.
Again, a good question. There are about 4 basic reasons why they hate black folk. And a lot of it springs from our inappropriate behavior patterns to justify it. The initial reason why the dominant white society and other groups are against black folk is because in their culture in Europe, that black folk typified just the opposite of them. When people look in the mirror, people always love that which is closest to them, Rock. And white folk look in the mirror and says, we're whites and they're blacks in color. So therefore, what am I going to love? They're going to love themselves first. And they love, so that therefore whiteness became to symbolize goodness, fairness, angelical, honesty, everything you could name, something that's valued. They valued white skin because they had white skin. Blacks, on the other hand, signified things are just the opposite. Things that were evil, dirty, odious, devilish, foolish, and ignorant. And so that was the first thing that began on black folk. The second thing that began to handicap black folk is once they enslaved black folk, they branded them. Slavery branded black folk because in those European countries, in the Asian countries, they had codes of conduct that says anytime somebody offends you or your family, you're a blind, or you have an obligation to defend yourself and fight. And in Europe and in Asia, they had what's called dueling, where you got out with the swords and dueling and fought it out. Or in the United States, in the West, they had shootouts, cowboys going out in gunfights because you offended them. But see, in black folk never defended themselves. And what whites said in their psyche is there's no honor in being a slave. There's nothing, and so consequently, if you allow us, anybody else, to enslave you for 460 years, we have no respect for you, no appreciation for you, we don't value you. And the last thing they did was say that now is that because you let us do this to you, we hate you but for the last thing, is because you're weak people. You spend all your time trying to get along with us. There was a white doctor in about 1850 says, in one speech, he says, a real racist white doctor, he says, don't ever worry about black folk. They'll never come after you or take up arms against you. All they want to do is be at their beck and call, to be a hand servant, to wait on us, to help us, to comfort us.
The most forgiving people on earth.
Most forgiving person on earth.
Told you.
He says you're always forgiving, compromising, acquiescing, and going on kissing on people, trying to get along with them, and being.
This is where people fucked up at. This is why I say this is why I tell everybody all the time. This is where y'all birthed the Tariq Nasheeds. This is why you birthed the Afro Elites, the Nikki the Gods, I'm sorry, FBA community, FBA News, the Florida Boy Jays. This is why you birthed these type of people. White supremacy fucked up. The Latino community fucked up. The Asian community fucked up. The Indian people community fucked up. The Arab community fucked up. The African community fucked up. The Caribbean community, they fucked up. They fucked up. You got this loving, these God-fearing people that will defend you by means all. The only thing they wanted was loyalty. Was a coalition. You couldn't even give that. You fucked up and made an enemy out of them. They gave us, and this is why I always say this, they gave us Pan-Africanism. Not that because we were forgiving people, it's because we were radical too at times. This is why we have to shame any of us that wants to go along, to get along whenever we as people are violent and harm and disrespected. Oh man, talk about disrespect. I told you I trolled Shabaka for like probably 45 minutes. And I told him, so I told him stop disrespecting black people. I said, yo, all due respect. I said, watch what you say about black people, because at the end of the day, you cannot call them crackheads. He was like, oh, y'all are drug dealers, yada, 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 this and that. He said, y'all fail at everything. And you know what? I'm going to say this. How dare anybody who ever calls Tariq Nasheed a liar? And I'm gonna show you what I found. V for Vengeance. Remember when motherfuckers is like, yo, these motherfuckers be shitting in the streets? Look what fucking sign I found. The devil is a motherfucking lie. This is the sign I find in Africa. This is the sign I found in Africa. They talk about xenophobic. They talk about, oh, we don't do that. What the fuck that sign says? Stop what? Open what? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not done yet. That's in Africa. And look what I found. I'm not done yet, Vengeance. Shabaka's talking about moving to Africa. I told him this is his Akon city. This is his Wakanda that he's telling black Americans to go to. These motherfuckers better never ever call Tariq Nasheed a liar. I was thinking this. What country in Africa? It looks like Nigeria. Because they do this shit in Nigeria. Because you know how I figured it out? Who's that guy? I'm going to say this. I thought Tariq Nasheed was just joking around and, just entertaining everybody. I thought he was entertaining people. But that shit is true. Motherfuckers really be shitting in openly in their country like that. And that's why I always tell people all the time, if you're going to talk shit about people, make sure your shit is not openly, disrespectful or just embarrassing. Because this is why I say, black people are very forgiving and we are loving people. We would have never said anything. There you go, Shabaka. Yeah, Shabaka. You're lying ass off. Now you are lying ass. So, Shabaka, if I go back to my video, I did not troll you for 45 minutes. You take aspect of this bullshit and apply this to all Africans. You are nuts. Okay. But where did Shabaka answer this question? I'm glad he's on here. You see this, Vengeance? I just saw a video. In the street of Nigeria, really look like trash that everywhere. Yeah. Now, Shabaka, I'm glad you're here. Now answer this question. Was that in Africa? Was that in Africa? Shabaka, was that in... I just need you to say a yes or no. Say yes, then you can say whatever you want. Answer the question. Shabaka's from Harlem. But I think he's African. I'm going to be personally honest. I think Shabaka's African. But he's from Harlem. I be trying to remember where everybody's from just out of respect. I don't want to be forgetting. But Shabaka, is that from Africa? I'm asking the question. Is that from the continent of Africa? He's gonna write a whole paragraph. Now you're a lying ass. You're off. That is the most stupid shit. Shabaka, just answer the question. Can African always try to flee to Africa? Yeah, they are. But the thing about it, where are they gonna run? This is the question. You know what? We should do give me a second. We're gonna do a topic question like that probably tomorrow. Shabaka, are you going to answer the question? It's just a yes or no. I'm glad Shabaka. You know what? I be loving when Shabaka be on these shows. You know why? Because, yo, Shabaka be amped. He be ready. Yo, I can't wait to get I got to figure out what this audio name is called so when y'all can just call. I want it to be an audio. Or if I have to get another phone so y'all can call through that phone, I'll get one. But I need to know what it's called. Because I want to hear from Shabaka. Because, yo, out of all jokes aside, do you think, yo, Shabaka is very interesting. I'm going to be personally honest. Shabaka, answer the question so we could go back to the show. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I knew it. I'm here now. Not going to put up that stupid shit. Africa is beautiful. There's parts of America. We're not talking about America, Shabaka. This is why I said he wasn't going to answer the question. Let's just get back to the show. Salute to you, Shabaka, too. Shout out to Shabaka, but yeah. You didn't answer the question. Is that Africa, yes or no?
Acceptable. And that's what happened with the whole civil rights movement. And so now when these civil rights leaders always want to beg and march and demonstrate and say, just please accept.
Oh, let's go back. What is it?
All they want to do is be at your back, at their back.
Because I don't know who they're talking about.
Trying to get along with us. That's respect for you, no appreciation for you. We don't value you. And the last thing they did was say that now is that because you let us do this to you, we hate you because but for last thing is.
I don't know. I'm gonna try.
Because you're weak people. You spend all your time trying to get along with us. There was a white doctor in about 1850 says, in one speech, he says, a real racist white doctor, he says, don't ever worry about black folk. They'll never come after you or take up arms against you.
That's a good idea. I might try.
All they want to do is be at their beck and call, to be a hand servant, to wait on us, to help us, to comfort us.
The most forgiving people on earth.
Most forgiving person on earth.
Thanks.
He says, you're always forgiving, compromising, acquiescing, and going on kissing on people trying to get.
V for vengeance. I was just saying the same thing about Nigeria, and Nigeria is getting kicked out of Ghana right now. They're getting kicked out of Ghana. They're getting kicked out of Ghana. Like, yo, if you're starting to notice, like, yo, Nigeria is starting to be like a certain type of people. I don't want them to flag this show because this is actually a good show, and I appreciate everybody on the show, and I wouldn't want to waste anybody's time getting the show flagged. They like the small hat motherfuckers. They get kicked out everywhere. Nigeria is starting to be like that. Nigerians are starting to be like that. They just got kicked out of Ghana. They're trying to, they ramsacked this man's business and told him to leave the country. They don't want him in this country.
Along with them and being acceptable. And that's what happened with the whole civil rights movement. And so now when these civil rights leaders always want to beg and march and demonstrate and say, just please accept us. Let us come into your home, come to your school, in your neighborhood. White, so we don't have any respect for you. And one of my friends from the Bay of Pigs, Hero, in the South, in Miami, he told me the same thing. He said, the reason, as a Hispanic, the reason we don't like to be around you is because you beg all the time. You never demand anything. And there was a white Asian writer for a newspaper in San Francisco. He told me the same thing. He said, Dr. Anderson, I hate black folk. He said, not because of who they, as a person.
Listen
I hate
to
them
this.
because of their attitude, their behavior. He said, why in the world they keep begging people? Why they keep begging people to get along with them rather than sitting there and say, no, I'm not going to do that and demand rights and respect. He said, I don't like black folk.
Who does that now? You hear this, Shabaka? You hear what this man said? He says, we stop begging people. We stop begging for coalitions and unity. We started demanding stuff, Shabaka. Like, you seeing this, what this man said 7 years ago, you seeing this right now. This is why I'm telling people now, I was like, what we're seeing right now and what we're talking about is nothing. Compare with what we're going to see in the next 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years. Black Americans is going to be the most respected. Within the next 5 years, black people are going to be the most respected people. They're going to be the most respected people. Yeah, you'll have your Myron Gaines and your Nick Fuentes and stuff, but those are rejects. Them niggas ain't gonna. Them niggas, their life is done. Facts. Civil rights leaders don't want to build. They want to march, cry, sing, and demonstrate for handouts instead of demand what we're owed and built. Yeah, that's why, yo, this is why I always agree with you when you say, like, yo, Pan-Africans is a scam. Because you got to look at it. What happened if we never had the Pan-African movement? And I'm talking about the shit that was in the 1960s when they gave us this culture. Oh, shout out to Hula Gang. What's going on, man? Latinos all hate Mexicans. Nigerians are the Mexicans of Africa. Yeah, they're getting kicked out of everywhere. You're right about that, player. You know? And yo, answer this question too, Hula. V for Vengeance too. What happened if we never had Pan-Africanism in the 60s? Or even civil rights? I personally think we would have been a little bit farther. FBA's is a payday for the family and tethers alike. Yeah, facts. Facts, same day parlay. Yeah, we would have been got paid. All this singing in the streets, holding hands. Nah, there was niggas out here really fighting. There was motherfuckers out here getting busy. There was people burning down fucking buildings. They had to call fucking James Brown. This motherfucker doing a concert in Boston talking about, yo, everybody stop destroying buildings and all this other stuff. And wait, see what happens. Yo, they had to call James Brown. We're using the Claud Anderson, the big homie playbook. We will win with that. Yeah, facts. No, I'm chilling. You know, I just wanted to do this reaction video because I was supposed to do this last night. But it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I'm just trying to finish this up. And I want y'all to enjoy y'all Saturday. I might do something else if there's nothing else to do. I might do another show, but I want y'all to enjoy y'all weekend. I'm not saying we're taking a break, but I'm giving y'all time to, do y'all thing. But yeah, we would have been had reparations. Like, look at Shabaka. Yo, Shabaka, the way how you talk now, you could have talked to black Americans probably like 15 years ago like that, and the motherfucker wouldn't say anything. A motherfucker would have been shocked. But you got actually people putting pressure on you and saying that, like, yo, you can't be talking like that when your shit ain't correct. Nah, we need civil rights. We just didn't need integration. But you got to also look at it. We did already had these type of talkers. We already had the Martin Luther Kings and stuff. I think personally, this is just me. You're probably right, but I feel like we would have been a little bit more farther than getting what we deserve, because I felt like what people know about civil rights and what people see when they see civil rights is black people getting the piss beat out of them. People sicking dogs and getting sprayed with water hoses. Not knowing that there were people out here fighting. And yeah, I could say this. And this is why I say, you know what? You probably are right. Because there was a balance. The balance was you had the civil right actually talking for us, but you had motherfuckers 10 toes down fighting. Punching police in the face, punching the white supremacists in the face. This is why I say, yo, you're probably all right. But in my mind, I'm imagining, like, damn, what happened if we didn't have civil rights? Like, yeah, we will still have people talking for us, but I feel like this would have brought the community together more. Shabak, we're not begging for reparation. We're demanding what we are owed. The fuck you talking about? Yeah, Vengeance. It was called Black Power. Was a part of the movement. It got us nowhere. This is why we must unite. You have no understanding. understanding the liberation struggle, you have a lot to learn. The liberation struggle has died out when they started bringing snow bunnies into their liberation. I'm gonna tell you a story. There was this liberation group. I forgot what it's called. They had this white girl I guess they were robbing banks and stuff, or they were doing some type of crooked shit. They got caught. Instead of staying in 10 toes down, the white girl say, "Oh, yo, they manipulated me to be robbing all these banks and stuff." And she went right back to her normal life while the motherfuckers rotted in jail. So that's your black liberation group. That's why I'm saying your liberation group is dead, Shabaka. It's dead. You're not going to get unity out of Africans. They can't even get along in Africa right now. They all kicking each other out of their country. That's like, let me tell you something. That's like somebody kicking somebody out of Alabama. A person from the north kicking somebody out of Alabama. You know, it's weird. Without civil rights, then you couldn't vote. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. I see. That's why I say, yo, I think you're right. You know. So legal protection. Yeah. You're right, V-Vengeance, see? That's why I say, So yeah, we do need civil rights. You're right, man. You cannot demand anything without power and unity. We've been down that road already. Well, no, we haven't, because you know what? Every time, and I'm gonna say this, every time we had yeah, I think that's what the group was called, the Black Liberation Army. The white girl snitched on everybody. Oh my God, yo, the girl, her boyfriend, I think her boyfriend was the leader too. It was crazy, man. She snitched on everybody. Somebody told me that story. I was like, yo, get the fuck out of here. He's like, yo, really? Yo, she was down for the cause. She was robbing, had the guns and everything in pictures and with her boyfriend, and they got caught. She couldn't do the time, so she was like, yeah, her boyfriend manipulated her to do all that shit. Yeah, it's crazy. You'd be surprised, man. Shabaka, all that stuff that you're saying, the liberation of Africa and stuff, we tried that. Stokely Carmichael, he did that and ran off to Africa. He didn't help Black America. That's why I always say he's a grifter. In my eyes, he's a grifter. He grifted to like 3 different types of organizations, 3 or 4 types of organizations. You know, does he have something monumental in black culture? Yeah, absolutely. I agree, but it's not as very important as, like, you know, let me tell you something. His shit is important just like Marcus Garvey's is. Marcus Garvey was a grifter as well. He talked shit about Black Americans too. So we can't sit here and act like, yo, Marcus Garvey was like, oh, so ultra black, and he wasn't. Marcus Garvey sit up in Virginia and told black people, if I had black people doing this shit would have took 6 months to do. You know, so that's how much respect he had for Black Americans. That's why motherfuckers packed him out and got him the fuck out of here. And it wasn't even us. It was the CIA. It was the COINTELPRO that we've been telling y'all niggas about for 80, 90 years. Say nothing.
And I agreed. I said, you know what? You're right. Slavery would have ended, Rock. Slavery would not have lasted 1 month back in the 15th and 16th century if black folks said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going for it. You can kill me if you want. That's fine. You lose some money because you bought me. But I tell you, but if you try to enslave me, rob and rape me and steal my kids and deny me the resources and to have a decent quality of life and my humanity for 300, 406 years, I'll die first, and I'll take you with me and your mama and your kids and your house and everything else and your dog. But see, black folk never stood up. And the worst part about it, and none of the African countries in all this 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow segregation, the African country, that's why I said don't call blacks African Americans. They did not send out one boat. They did not send one boat to America to rescue or to the Caribbean. 15 to 16 million who have been enslaved and mistreated and slaughtered.
Hold up. What did he just say? Let's listen to Shabaka. Listen what your boy said.
First, and I'll take you with me and your mama and your kids and your house and everything else and your dog. But see, black folk never stood up. And the worst part about it, and none of the African countries in all this 400 years of slavery and Jim Crow segregation, the African country, that's why I said don't call blacks African Americans. They did not send not one boat. They did not send one boat to America to rescue or to the Caribbean 15 to 16 million who have been enslaved and mistreated and slaughtered. Didn't send one boat.
We sit here on the campus of Howard University.
Oh my God. Guess what? I bet if and when we win our reparations, Shabaka's gonna be the front of the line begging for his share. And yeah, absolutely. After he gets it, he's gonna get cocaine and white bitches. Shabaka likes white women. And the thing about it, it's always those pro black people that love white women, you know? I don't see nothing wrong with it. You just gotta get one that, you know, is gonna be down for your cause. I'm gonna be personally honest. I'm not saying all white women are bad. I just said, like, yo, you just gotta get one of those white women that's gonna be down for your cause and not undermine your situation. That's all it is. You know? But he is right. An African didn't send one fucking boat over. Shabaka knew that. But Shabaka still wants us to do business with Africans.
In Washington, D.C., and you speak in your book about the unique and special history of between blacks and the District of Columbia. Tell us about that.
Well, the District of Columbia throughout history was always one of the big slave capitals. And all around all these buildings around here. See, black folk built all the buildings in the first place. They were the labor that built all the major business buildings. But they used to have slave auctions right on the White House lawn and down the streets of Roby House, the biggest slave quarters, and over in Virginia where they were selling slaves. Washington, D.C. was a slave capital, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing was that in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. was the home of first blacks that even enslaved in the Capitol. They were in the White House as servants.
Just one cup.
And and so over a period of time now, with slavery, Washington. At one point, I'm trying to pull up on it. Washington also was used and never used to. Ask me a question again because I don't. Something slipped out of my mind.
No, just the special relationship between blacks and the District of Columbia.
Right. And see, right now, and when I came to Washington, D.C., as an example, to show you the difference. When I came to Washington, D.C. with President Carter, back in 1970s,
yeah,
at that particular time, it had been as it was all the way through slavery. I told you during the slavery period.
Shout out to
Washington was called
Vinges.
Chocolate City. It was the Chocolate City.
Oh shit! Let me see what Shabaka said. Claud is a fraud. With his idea of fighting for liberation, have a beautiful African woman. Claud has no solution. What his solutions is. He told you what, yo. Shabaka, I want you to read this book, man. It's on Claud Anderson. It's one of my favorite books. This one right here. I didn't finish reading the whole book, but definitely it's a real good book. You would appreciate that, and you can use this towards Pan-Africanism as well. I need you to read that book. And put it this way. If you disagree with everything in that book, you can give me a book and I will read it. Fair trade-off? I just need you to read that book, and I want to know your idea of the book. And yo, Vengeance, I'm gonna try the Zoom thing. That was a great idea. Thank you.
Of the nation, and at that point in time, the city was 78% black.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
78% black, and now it's down to like 42 or 43%. And because you got immigrants and you got gentrification, where whites are coming back, taking over the city. You got privatization of the property. And so black folk has shrunk now from 78% down to about 42, 43%. And look what happened now. As they shrunk down, black folk now moved out of the city and moved to PG County. And in the city now, if I look at the wealth level of blacks in the city of Washington, D.C.
Claud Anderson's retired. He did everything in the 60s and 70s. You know, if he's on a vacation, let him enjoy his vacation in the Bahamas. Or Barbados. What you said, Bahamas. Okay, yeah. You know, I think he has done a lot. I think this is why I wanted to do a reaction video on this one. Because I think, Shabaka, I'm going to say this, all right? There are great Pan-Africans. There are some great Pan-Africans. Do I believe in Pan-Africans? Absolutely not. I will tell you that. But I will say this. There are great Pan-Africans. You know, you're a great Pan-African. Your ideology's fucked up and crazy. But at the end of the day, I will agree. I will stand 10 toes down with you and what you believe in, and say like, yo, Shabaka can do it. Because I'm your friend. We are all friends, and that's how I look at everybody. If he got an African girl, that's even better. You know? Like you, Shabaka, let me tell y'all something. You make it seem like we saying African women are all ugly. There are some, you know, Quasimodo looking motherfuckers, but, you know, there are some very beautiful and attractive Africans. I have dated a lot of them. You know? So, and I think one thing, you should try to get another ideology about Black Americans. This is why, yo, actually, I think we're going to try to Zoom V for Vengeance soon. But let's finish this. We got like 10, 15
since it's been privatized and gentrified. The average wealth, again, wealth is a key for survival. The average wealth of a white person living in Washington, D.C. is about $235,000. But the average wealth base for a black living in D.C. is $3,500. Because you're down to chicken change. Because black folks still confuse income with wealth. That's a difference. There's a major difference. You go over to PG County, all those blacks that left Washington sold their houses for chicken change and went to PG County. Look at what happened over there. Yeah. Over there, that you have the highest concentration of educated blacks in America living in PG County. You have the highest concentration of wealthy blacks in the United States living in PG County. Yeah. I go to PG County, guess who's gonna run all the businesses and all the stores? Immigrants. Yeah. And over there, the Hispanics who've been here less than 35 years now got 5 times the wealth base of blacks in PG County, where you got the highest concentration of blacks in the United States and wealth.
Educated too.
Educated. Yeah. And they still on the bottom.
Yeah. Let's get into a little bit, and then we will probably jump back also. But in terms of now the policies that are coming out of this government regarding...
Yo, this motherfucker Shabaka wants my mother to be African so bad. Yo, that ancestry DNA, I don't believe in it, Shabaka. I'm going to be personally honest. The reason why I don't believe in it, because it cannot tell me what tribe of Africa I'm from. You're saying I'm from Nigeria or Benin, and well, these countries are fairly new. How you even know that I am from that country and you don't know what tribe I'm from? There are some gorgeous women and gorgeous African. Oh yeah, facts. Especially Nigeria, I know. Oh yeah, I know. I know.
You talk about, for example, there's several things, but let's just deal with healthcare.
Well, healthcare, there's a direct link between having healthcare, having good health, and having money. That's the biggest connection. I know for about 6 or 7 straight years, Wayne State University Medical School in Detroit used to invite me to come in to be the keynote speaker for the health convention. I said, I'm not a medical doctor. They said, yeah, but Dr. Anderson, you're the only person in this country that speaks and relate wealth to having good health. They said most of these blacks in the country who can't afford insurance, can't afford proper Medicare, can't afford proper food. You say if you don't have the money, you're gonna suffer. Yeah. And he said you're the only person used to tell us you got to have the wealth and the power and to be able to afford the necessary things you have to have a comfortable life and a healthy lifestyle. And I said that's right. So I was a keynote speaker for them for years. And right now, if you got a poverty rate in the United States where 38% of the black folk are beneath the poverty line, 36% of all the black children are beneath the poverty line, how do you expect them to be healthy? How do you expect them to? Who's going to take care of them for the diseases, everything else, and the physical injuries? And so they don't have the base to do it. And you hear, nobody makes an issue out of it. Yeah. And so consequently, you cannot have a healthy body and a healthy mind when you have no money and resources to do it.
Describe your thoughts, your feelings about the presidency of Barack Obama as it relates to black Americans. And we were just talking about health care there. Was sort of one of his signature initiatives, the Affordable Care Act. Was that something that was foundationally correct to help, obviously, everybody in the country, but especially blacks who could perhaps benefit from universal health care, or is establishing that another form of what you described earlier as black folks begging?
Yeah, see, I'm not that vested into knowing all the intricacies of his healthcare program. I stayed away from that, but what he could have done some other things that could have balanced that out. If he had focused on trying what Martin Luther King should have focused on, redistributing some resources into black folks' hands, so they can begin to acquire a better lifestyle. And that's the problem. See, it's not civil rights, it's not social integration that determines the quality of life. And because see, right now it's what you own and control. Black folk who own and control 1% they haven't got a snowball's chance of getting any insurance or getting anything else that's quality based.
I have a good friend whose mantra is what he says that King's position was towards the latter part of his life, and that is proportional economics.
He started getting into that right before he got assassinated, about 3 or 4 months. Martin Luther said, I've come to learn that after 10 years that they cannot have real true social integration unless you have economic integration. And you cannot have economic integration unless you go back and redistribute some of the wealth, resources, and opportunities into the hands of black folk. But he said that, unfortunately, he said, I've learned that, but it's a little late then. But he spent 10 years pushing everybody's wagon, pushing diversity, multicultural, and taking care of the world, and for blacks to be altruistic and to subject themselves to abuses, to take physical abuse, and rather than saying, no, we don't need to go back and rebuild these black communities and give them more resources.
So we've got about 10 minutes left, man. That's how fast.
That's what you consider a black policy. Rebuilding, reconstructing. Those are black policies. Shabaka, that's all I want from black Americans, to reconstruct what was done wrong to us. Give us back our generational wealth. We can't talk about generational wealth when people stole our generational wealth. Then when we did it again, you stole that and burnt down the whole fucking community. The white supremacies burnt down the community. I'm gonna even use a remember what he said, resources. Facts. Absolutely. Redistributing, yes. That's another one. That's another policy that needs to be put back in. You are sitting here down in Pan-Africans, and you know nothing about Pan-Africanism. What have you studied or researched? We did a research show on Pan-Africanism. We have done. You and Kwame went off on me. I did one of the most iconic right now, probably newest legends in the conscious community. 19 Keys. And y'all went off on me. I have never seen you and Kwame that mad when the motherfucker told you Pan-Africanism was funded by the CIA, as what I've been telling y'all for the last 8 months. He just had the receipts. That man had the receipts. So I want to say this, and we're gonna finish up. Yeah, we had the receipts and that. Yo, Hooligan, I wish you was there. Kwame and Shabaka was going off on me, and they were trolling Miss Ursula. Y'all started with Miss Ursula before. And I was like, yo, let's pop in this video. We're going to watch on Pan-Africanism, the history of Pan-Africanism. How did they start? Where did they get started from? Then they started talking about Black America. Basically, they called Pan-Africanism, the Boulets, the new house niggas. Because at the end of the day, you didn't want to leave that structure. Y'all didn't want to leave that structure of living. While we was getting off the plantation, y'all wanted all of us to stay on the plantation. And y'all was doing it so y'all could get butter biscuits with the cheddar and catfish nuggets. I want to say this, Shabaka. We must organize no small ass groups. We aren't all organizing small ass groups. We're trying to unite with our people, the Black Americans, the foundational Black Americans, the freedmen. This is why people are going on the Freedmen Bureau, seeing where they came from. This is why people are joining policies, trying to get policies for us. We're having people, be in the task force like I'm in, trying to be politicians and senates for us and stuff. We're starting to organize this stuff right now. Like, if you don't notice, if you write in foundational Black Americans, you'll get a dozens of people who are supporting foundational Black Americans. There's dozens of foundational Black Americans that are telling you, like, yo, this is what's popping. This is what's going on. And the thing about it, as Vengeance said, we're using the playbook of basically the founding father of foundational Black Americans. He just calls them Black natives or natives blacks. That's the founding father of foundational Black Americans. This is Tariq Nasheed's teacher. Him, Dick Gregory, who else? A few other people. It's just, I'm gonna say this same day parlay. FBA all day is gonna win. FBA is gonna win all the time. And the thing about it is that we're fighting back. We're not just gonna sit there and listen and take the abuse anymore. We're actually fighting back.
Time has gone by. Let's start to discuss. This is what you've just described is a deep dark hole.
It is.
Unfortunately, I think it would be difficult for anyone to argue with some of your analysis here. Much of what you're talking about is rooted in obvious reality. given that that's the case, let's please start to, we can't leave here without some hope, to start thinking about what you as such a veteran observer, economist, someone who has paid attention to this arc. Let's start talking about some solutions.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite thing. And the solution, there are several things you can do very quickly. First of all, black folks need to understand what you're saying, that they are in a deep, dark hole. Okay, and they're locked in that deep, dark hole by some institutions. The first institution is the United States Constitution. That's got them locked in box. And nobody's ever raised any issue about the United States Constitution.
And so I'm going to ask you, because you talk about it in the book. I really, they ain't got to buy your book. They maybe go to the library. They need to read your book, man. This book needs to be read, people. So you talk about the Constitution a little bit. You talk a little bit about the dark side.
Right.
Give us a little bit of that, and then we want to come back and talk about solutions.
Okay, good. And see, the dark side, the Constitution was written to be the first affirmative action plan in the entire United States. But nobody understands that. It's an affirmative action plan for whites, okay? And what they're saying is that these people, and we're going to make sure these people are locked in box. And so we're going to build this Constitution based on two things. We're going to use a whole body of people to enrich us, to bring comfort to us, and at the same time we're going to talk about everybody having equal opportunity, being the land of freedom. But we're going to shut these people down. They're not going to have any freedom. Yeah. And so before they drew the Constitution up in 17.
Hold it, because there's just something there that just like boom,
Okay.
And because that's like to use the language of Don King, the boxing promoter, that's the original trickeration.
That's right. That's
the original trick.
That's it. And the Constitution is based upon all these, whatever decisions been based, it was based on trickery. Because what they did, they set it up so they met in Philadelphia in 1789. They met there and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start writing this Constitution. And what we're going to do, but how do we justify bringing in all these people here looking for free land and free Indian land and free black labor to get unearned benefits? At the same time, we're going to talk about that all people have a right to life, liberty, and pursuit. And they said initially it said property, but Thomas Jefferson said we can't say property. Let's go back into the Constitution and rewrite it and say happiness. Yeah. See, because so they saw bamboozling and said nobody's coming across the coming around the world just to look for happiness in America. They were coming to look for free, unearned benefits. Yeah. So what they said, well, here's the trick we're going to do. We're going to write this document. They spent a whole week with the doors locked and the shutters drawn. Say, how do we write a Constitution that's going to lock blacks in and nobody to recognize it? So what they said, here's what we do in the Constitution. Let's use coded language. They said that one coded language for whites and a coded language to talk about black folk. And so in the Constitution, we talk about all people. They're talking about whites. We say citizens. They're talking about whites. When they say so they use those kind of language and the people. When they say the people, they're talking about whites. Blacks were property. So when the Constitution says the people and all the people, they're talking about whites. Blacks are property and they're classified as equal to an animal. So when you talk about in the Constitution, look at it and read it. It says when you talk about black folk, it says those who are in bondage, those who are indebted, those who that specific property, that specific group of people, those who at unhappily lot. They're talking about black folks. They use it, and they say always use coded language. And bring it up to date right quick so I can get off this point. I know the time is running out. See, Ronald Reagan told the country the same thing when he came into office in '82. See, when I left the White House with President Carter, with his administration, when Reagan came in, one of the first things he did, he called Haldeman into the office and said, when you start talking about black issues in America, make sure you use coded language. He said, never say anything specifically, solely, directly against black. He said, what you do is use a very broad, ambiguous language. He says, and the jigs.
Welfare queen.
The jigs, they'll never know what you're talking about. Use very broad words like minority, poor folk, people of color. That way they never know they ain't gonna get a darn thing out of it. We can hide it. So they use hidden codes to be able in the Constitution to define what whites would get and what immigrants would get, and nothing that blacks were going to get. Okay? That coding is still being used today to talk about diversity, multicultural, people of color. They're saying, let's pretend that black folk don't exist. And no public policy is going to say specifically for black folk, nothing going to address them. And that's what not one president in the United States, including Obama, has ever done anything specifically and solely to address the needs of black folk. Not one politician. As soon as a politician goes gets in office, even if he's black, first thing you say is that I got to represent all the people. I got to represent everybody. I can't do anything for black folk, but I can do things for Jews, Arabs, Asians, Hispanics, midgets, handicapped, transgenders, anything. But I can never do anything for black folk. So what that does, it freezes black folk in the lowest level of a real life monopoly game.
And so now let's talk about some solutions.
Okay, now the solution, the first thing I would tell black folk do is understand, declare yourself to be a native people, native blacks. You're the oldest population here, point two. And then and declare your exceptionality. Say that you're entitled to things that have never been given to you, that you're exceptional people.
That's his teacher. He's supposed to he was supposed to take the information and share it to us. That's how you you don't stop your blessings, is when with the blessings that you give to everyone else. You give the people the secrets. That's why they always tell you never hide your blessings.
And you've been mistreated and maltreated. And because of that, don't include me in these very broad, ambiguous groups. Get out of affirmative action. I have the dubious honor of writing the first affirmative action plan in the United States.
There we go. He told us get out of affirmative action. Why in 2025 affirmative action is being shut down right now and everybody's going crazy? Let's listen to what he says.
You're entitled to things that have never been given to you, that you're exceptional people and you've been mistreated and maltreated. And because of that, don't include me in these very broad, ambiguous groups. Get out of affirmative action. I have the dubious honor of writing the first affirmative action plan in the United States in 1970-71 for the state of Florida. I wrote that plan not for minorities, I wrote it for black folk, but it was diluted and watered down and corrupted about 6 or 7 months after I wrote it and went all over the country, saying it was for affirmative action for all people. And so I want blacks to get out of affirmative action and go for reparations.
I was getting ready to say that very clearly. That's right. You're saying affirmative action. Get away from that.
Get away from it.
Start talking specifically, succinctly about reparations.
That's right. And put your own self-interest first. Quit trying to be altruistic and trying to represent everybody.
Yes.
Every time there's a march for anybody, you out there marching, leading the parade. You start saying, no, I'm going to put my interest first. Because
what are we seeing now in 2025? What are we seeing 2025 right now? What he's saying 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we are seeing right now. We're seeing that black Americans are putting their interests first before anybody. You've seen black Americans not support affirmative actions. You see, this is a powerful video right now.
And understand that God sent you here black. Blackness is your badge of honor. It's your exceptionality. It's your course to get out of this problem. Then what you do, then you say, I want to also rebuild my own communities. Go back and rebuild your own communities. Rebuild your own, and in those communities, do what you had before the 1960s. Rebuild, you put your own businesses in there. So and right now, we do not have not one single community in America. All we got are black neighborhoods, and everybody else got communities. You cannot, Rock, be a competitive group with neighborhoods. You got to have communities. And every group coming to America, the first thing they do in the West Coast, the Japanese, Asian, Arabs, anybody, they say, first thing we're going to do is build communities. We're going to find somebody that look like us, build us a community. So you got Arab towns, Korea towns, China towns, Japan towns, little Saigons, you got little Havanas, little Hialeahs, you got little Italy, you got Greek towns, Pole town, Hockey town, any kind of, but you never find a black town because we are integrated. And integration means you scattered and lost your power and your resources. And you cannot run a business with scattered resources. It can't be done. So you build your own communities, and a community is where you store your values, your culture, your history, your tax base, your jobs, and your employment opportunities. You store them in your own communities. That's why 98% of all these other groups, they have their own communities, spend their money with their own people. We got it backwards. We go to other people's community, we go to other people's jobs to help them. And only 2% of the blacks in America work in their own community, in their own neighborhoods for their own people and got jobs. And so you got to build these communities. Then you start practicing group economics and group politics. You pull out all the parties, build your own black independent parties, move away from the Republican Party, pull out the Democratic Party, because neither one of them have your interests at heart, and create your own parties. But don't run any candidates. Right. So we will vote for any candidate in the National Black Independent Party who will promise the most and deliver resources to black folk to correct this structural inequity we're into. And I go through politics, show you how to play the politics. Keep your money with your own people, hire your own people, practice group economics from the bottom to the top.
You know, man, so if we were to go back 50 or 60 years and look at how mainstream media portrayed the emergence of Martin Luther King, they sanitized him as best they could and turned him into the dreamer. You have given some voice to that perhaps, that there should have been a much greater focus on economic interest.
That's right.
Than there was in
social.
Social and integration. And if you look at though as to how he became sort of to emerge as a darling of the media, the dreamer, if you will, and you look at the same time, someone who was attempting to do what you're talking about then, you look at Elijah Muhammad, and you look at how he was vilified as a lunatic when if we play make-believe here just for a moment, if you talk about the policies, the strategy of Elijah Muhammad to say do for yourself and build your own communities, and if we had now 50 or 60 years of that versus this piece, the integration piece, which is so diluted, man, it's just difficult not to look back at it and say, what if?
Yes, that you should say that throughout history. The question would be not only with that, the question would be, what would America look like right now if you never had blacks in here as slaves? What would America look like today if you didn't have them to build the roads, pick the cotton, to build? They were the people they were the engines that drove the economic development of this country. Yeah. What would this country look like if they never could?
Do y'all know what we call that? The foundation. The foundation. Listen to this man spitting game right now.
There's no way this country could have ever been built without the black slaves doing it for them. And so,
and so just on that point right there, on that point right there, if one is to say that that's a valid point, then there should be a straight line with anything, entity, person, or otherwise that talks about equality. There's a straight line then to reparation. If that's the case, then there should be a straight line to reparation.
There should be a straight. But see, but what happens is that you got in the social order, that social construct, that there is pushback against anything, because see, the dominant society and all those subcategories of ethnic groups, they don't want you to do that, because right now all the ethnic groups, the dominant white society, the Hispanics, Arabs, and Asians, they're living off of two incomes. They're living off of 100% of their own money because they keep it confined to their communities. It doesn't go to blacks, and they live off of 98% of blacks' money. So every group in this country lives off of double incomes. 198%, blacks have forced to live off of 2%. So that they can't make it because they're spending their money in stores and businesses that don't belong to them. And so the issue in the conclusion is that the issue, what I'm saying to you, is not hating anybody. See, black folk, I'm not against any immigrants. What I'm against is the racist immigration policies that have kept black folk locked and boxed outside the system for over 460 years. And for black folk, got to learn how to compete. And the other problem they got is that they got to understand that if once they start trying to compete, the dominant white society is going to push back because they say, you're taking money out of my pocket. I got 198% now. And you only got 2, right. And so I'm opposed to your begging about any change.
Power concedes nothing without a struggle, never has.
That's right.
Never will.
And also power has no feelings about morality or justice. I see black folk march the street talk. We're marching for justice. Power doesn't care about justice. It doesn't care about morality. It can care about who owns and controls the resources. And the last thing I'm saying to you in conclusion is that you don't get any pushback from the dominant white society, I mean from the black overclass, is because 98% of them have already received meritorious manumission. They've already been set free. They're getting benefits, what they call performance-based income. And they're scared to death to do anything that might align them with black folk in the country.
As Dick Gregory would say, the struggle continues.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here. This is the fastest hour in television.
Thank
Folks,
you,
that wraps us for this evening. For more information on this program or any other program produced by WHUT, go to WHUT.
I'm going to say this and I'm going to land. This was a great interview. You're right, Hula Gang. Yo, this was a great interview. And, yo, I love this interview. What made me like this interview even more, because at the end of the day, What he said, this is a 7-8 year old video. What he been saying, the shit is happening right now, and we're watching it. We're seeing everything that's popping up. We're seeing everything that, things change. This is a reality check that a lot of people are going to see. Organizations, cultures, races, classes. Like, a lot of people are seeing a change. Are these people are ready for this change? They better be ready. Because I'm going to say this. Everything that Tariq Nasheed was saying, yo, we got to delineate from these people. We got to let these people handle their own stuff. We got to worry about ourselves. That makes sense. Tariq Nasheed seen this food for sure. Yo, that's Tariq Nasheed's teacher. He got the native blacks from him. He said he just put foundation on it. Tariq Nasheed been saying this shit for years. He said, like, yo, I got it from Claud Anderson. Oh, yo, yeah. So FBA been around since 2018, 2019. But Claud Anderson been running around here talking about black natives for like probably 40 to 60 years. He been running around here saying that, like, yo, we're not African. Even when Jesse Jackson started calling us Africans in the 80s, he was so against it. But don't forget, this is when the Democrats was running everything that was going on at the time with Black America, the black struggle and stuff. Yeah, the foundational hits harder because at the end of the day, it says that we are the foundation of America. America would not be nothing without Black Americans' foundation. With our inventions, our help, our struggle, everything. They were struggling without us. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. I think people got to start to understand that, like, Black Americans is an alpha race. It's a superior warrior race. It's not just, oh yeah, we shall overcome. No, we are a warrior race. This is why I said without Pan-Africanism, we would have had a lot of radicals out here. We would have had a lot of more radicals out here, not socially, physically, and mentally. We would have had those radicals in those politics and them politicians. They wouldn't be able to go to the California, Chicago, Detroit, Michigan. This is what radicalism is. And I always looked at radicalism as the greater good. The reason why I say it's the greater good, because it's telling you that there's something wrong with the system. The system isn't working out as people think it's working out as. Yeah. So like I said, within the next year or two, it's gonna get the temperature is gonna turn up. The temperature is gonna turn up. You think you're hearing a lot of begging and all this other stuff from these people getting sent back and stuff? No, it's gonna get worse. Things is gonna get. You're gonna see a lot of desperate people. From white supremacies to the immigrants to people who have class, who is from a higher class. They're going to be calling for help. They're going to be asking for help. They're going to be trying to unite Black Americans with them because they know what type of power we have. So everybody pay attention, and definitely, I'm not going to say be woke, even though that's our term that the liberals stole from us. And being woke was always just staying on code with another black person. That's why when you give that nod to the dude, that's like, oh, yo, you on code too? Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, certain things you did. Yeah, that's what it meant back in the days. These liberals just fucking hijacked the word and just put aluminum foil on their on their top of their head and just started like just spitting out everything. 2025 project and all this crazy shit. But I want to give a thanks to Shabaka, Same Day Parlay, Hula Gang. Who else? I know y'all was out here live too. V for Vengeance. Rando. YouTubian, shout out. I haven't seen you in a ill minute, YouTubian, but salute to you. There's more EL. I know you was on here earlier. Let me see. EL. And if I didn't say your name, I apologize. If anything, like and subscribe and comment. And if you want to send the donations, definitely I'll put the link on at the end and I'll put it in the comments as well. Thank y'all for watching the show. This was great. I appreciate everybody.